Incredible flavours, even better stories. One pour, 10 minutes, Aussie bourbon lovers sharing bourbon with Australia.
Tell us what you know about Buffalo Trace while I pour it out.
Well, there's so many things about Buffalo
I spilled
Trace.
quite a lot. Sorry.
No.
Sorry.
Dave.
It's just on
Don't
your leg.
spill Buffalo Trace. Buffalo Trace. Buffalo Trace is one of the very iconic bourbons of America. Thank you.
Bourbons of America. Aren't all bourbons of America, Helen?
But I think Buffalo Trace has really given bourbon a big name. That's how I'd put it.
I agree with this.
Yeah, I weirdly first learnt or became interested in Buffalo Trace
When
I watched a Netflix TV show called Pappygate.
No. It's called Heist, I
Oh,
think, isn't it?
Heist.
But that episode's Pappygate.
Yeah, it's all about one of the bourbons at Buffalo Trace being stolen and smuggled out and sold for lots of money, and I was like, wow. So when we went to America, I was like, let's go check out this distillery. But yeah, it is one of the very few distilleries that stayed open during Prohibition. What are some other interesting
Well, it's
facts about
huge is what it is. It's ginormous. I don't know if it's... Jim Beam might be making more
They said it's
juice
one of
than
the
that. Like,
biggest and one of the oldest.
it's the oldest continuously operating or something.
Yeah,
They've all
yeah.
got these claims, don't they?
Everyone has a special claim. But it did stay open during Prohibition, and it's been known under a lot of different names, but currently is Buffalo Trace.
Yep.
And it makes a lot of great bourbons. They have a wide range, like from really affordable to extremely outlandishly,
What's the one that everyone knows that it's hard to get your hands on and is very expensive?
It's a Pappy Van Winkle.
Yeah.
Very expensive, very hard to get your hands on. But cheers.
This is not that one. This is
Just
Trace.
Buffalo Trace, which is delicious.
So I have to admit something that I'm a bit embarrassed about.
Oh.
I didn't know. I thought that I was really into bourbons before I'd had this by itself, and I won it in a raffle at a barbecue thing in Hyatt.
Not a bad bottle to win.
I won a bottle of it, and one of my friends, Kane, drinks this like it's going out of fashion, which it's not going out of fashion. They're making heaps of it.
Yeah.
But so I was like, oh, cool, no worries, I'll have that. And so I started drinking it. I enjoy it, and I have usually mixed it.
Yep.
But the other night, you and I went and visited our friends who'd just had their baby. We visited them in a hotel.
Yeah.
And George went to the bar and got 2 neat pours of bourbon. And because they didn't have a good bourbon, like an amazing bourbon range, Buffalo Trace was one of the pours. And when he gave it to me, I was like, this is unreal. What is this?
That's
and he's
Buffalo
like,
Trace.
this is Buffalo Trace.
You guessed it was Buffalo Trace, though, didn't you?
But I couldn't, I guess it was Buffalo Trace because I looked at what the list was. But God, it's a good drop. It's such a pour.
Good to drink straight, or as I like it, on ice.
So many good things to say about Buffalo Trace. Definitely, if you get to Kentucky, we're lucky enough to have been on that tour. And that's one of these ones where I'm pretty sure the tours are free.
Yes, yeah.
You just need to book in far enough advance to get on one.
There's all different types of tours too.
Yeah, I think there's 4 different kinds of tours. But the thing that we noticed was when you go for the tour, particularly if you go in the morning, there's just a massive queue of people who are all queuing up to try to get the bourbon.
Get the bourbon from the bottle shop section of it.
They just want to buy
They're not
the bourbon.
there for the tours. They're just coming to buy bourbon because it's good bourbon. They make very good bourbon.
And you never know. With the distilleries, you never know what they're going to be pouring out or what they're going to be have on the shelves and stuff like that. Buffalo Trace has a huge number of different brands, but this mash bill, it's called Rye Mash One, has a few pretty impressive bourbons that kind of call this mash bill. So Buffalo Trace is one, E.H. Taylor is another.
Yeah.
George T. Stagg.
Yep.
And Eagle Rare.
Yeah.
All the same
bourbons,
mash bill.
But all the same mash bill. What does that mean, Dave?
It means it's the same runny stuff. It's the same ingredients that go into making the white dog.
Yep.
And then
so
all
the
of that. And then this is fascinating too. The base. This is probably one of my favourite things about bourbon. I nerd out on this thing a lot. The base. If you think about a recipe for a cake, the recipe for all of those labels is exactly the same in terms of what the ingredients are. The thing that changes isn't even the barrel, because the barrel is identical across all Buffalo Trace products now.
Yeah.
That includes Pappy. So the barrel that's used for Pappy is exactly the same as Buffalo Trace and Benchmark and some of the cheaper brands.
Yep.
the difference between Buffalo Trace and Eagle Rare and George T. Stagg and then like Stagg Junior and all that kind of stuff is just how it aged and where it was in the warehouse.
Yeah.
And then the way that the guys who taste it class it. Say this is a
that's what I found
banger.
fascinating is they obviously take the bourbon from the barrel and there's a certain panel of people that have to taste it and they've all got to agree that it's going to be a pappy for it to be a pappy. And if one or two disagree, then it goes and becomes a
Weller.
And I'm like, so get yourself a good bottle of
Get
Weller.
some Weller.
Because it means it didn't quite make it to be a pappy, but you can definitely afford it as opposed to a pappy.
Well, Weller can be expensive too, but I love, this is one of my favourite things about bourbon is that the stuff that they make, the ingredient, like what they do to make the ingredients, exactly the same. It's the way the wood interacts with the heat and the seasons.
Yeah.
And
where they put it in the rick house and what they do with it. And it's fascinating. Yep. I love it. I love that every bourbon has a good story though. Pappy Gate was great.
Pappy Gate. So tell me what's happened in Pappy Gate? What happens
like
here?
Someone's smuggling out the really good stuff and selling it. And it's just, back then they didn't realise how exclusive it was. It's a fascinating doco to just, it introduced me to Buffalo Trace and I'm glad it did.
Big props to the PR department at Buffalo Trace though, because I also am a big fan of another documentary on a different streaming platform. Yeah, neat.
That's a great doco.
So Freddie Johnson, who's one of the tour guides there, is kind of the star really of Neat on Amazon. You got to get on that. If you haven't,
it's a really good introduction to bourbon, how to drink bourbon.
Why bourbon's interesting.
Yeah, and some like sort of brief overview of the history behind it, how it's made. Yeah, it's a great. One of the things that I love is that for a distillery that makes very expensive bourbon, like is on their list of probably the most expensive. Their philosophy behind it is drink it, because you get people. Sorry if I offend anyone who get all these bottles to collect and keep and have on a shelf because they're so limited edition and so expensive, and you hear the stories behind all these men and women that make it, and they're like, these are for you to drink with people that you love. So I reckon that's.
Well, that's what we're doing.
Yep. That's the most important bit. It's enjoy it with the people you love. And that's something that really struck home to me. It's like, you can get this very delicious bottle of bourbon that you've paid lots of money for and be like, this is a limited edition, let's keep it. Or let's just open it up and have a great night.
There's a couple other things about Buffalo Trace that kind of make for good stories. The first one I actually don't know great detail about. It's the reason it's called Buffalo Trace is because the buffaloes, or the buffalo, I think you'd say, used to kind of make a track across the land, like traditionally,
where it is,
where the distillery is, and so that's why it's called Buffalo Trace. Is that's where the land where they met, and then that was the place where they made the distillery. That's the first one. The second one is they went to expand facilities. There's been this big bourbon boom in the US. If you don't know about it, it's kind of like in the past few years, bourbon's gone nuts, and they went to make more facilities at Buffalo Trace to be able to make more bourbon.
Yeah.
And to do that, they were like, let's see what's down by the river. And so they went to do it, and they kind of excavated. What's the right word?
They got the paleontologists of bourbon in.
Paleontologists. It's definitely not that. That's not the right word.
No. But it's like they got the people who
they weren't expecting dinosaurs.
No.
They were expecting.
But they got the people who were.
Archaeologists?
Yeah, something like that. Like the people who,
wasn't quite
like a paleontologist is to dinosaur bones, these guys were to
ruins,
bourbon ruins.
And they found these incredible things.
They were clearing it to make site for a wedding or something.
Was it like wedding venues?
It was an old barn or something they thought they could turn into a wedding venue. And then they found all this old equipment that was like so old.
That's one of the tours you can do.
That was great. Yeah.
Buffalo Trace site, and then Sazerac own it, but they make so many good different bottles. We're going to talk about blends another time. We'll talk about Eagle Rare another time.
Yeah, definitely. They're all great
they make great bourbons, and they do the antique collection as well, which is so highly sought after. They make the Pappy Van Winkle bourbons, which are unbelievable and so highly sought after, kind of probably the most sought after bourbons. So we'll talk about all those another time. But if you get a chance to get to that part of Kentucky, you should be doing the tour anyway. It's a banger.
It's worth a visit. But Yeah. Just get some Buffalo Trace, try it out, and drink it with people you love.
It's such a good pour. Cheers.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you're connected with us on TikTok, Instagram and YouTube, and stay connected with us by clicking subscribe on your favourite podcast app.